bring back some.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike, the premier business radio program. I'm your host, Mike King. I appreciate you being here with me. This is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network, ESPN Rich 106.1, International Business Growth Radio, that's IBGR, Saturdays 10 a.m. in the East, as well as Mike King Business Friends, CW Richmond, every Wednesday and Friday. What we do is we uplift the community and showcase RVA in a different way. We're coming to you today. That's right. We're coming to you from the BBB, the Better Business Bureau. Shout out to my man, Barry Moore. On the Mike, Mike King Biz is an accredited business, and it is something we believe in is trust, and that's the foundation of what the BBB is. But I always say we talk to the best and the brightest. Sir, it's a business show, so tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, I'm Larry Murphy. I'm interim president and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Richmond. And so it's just an honor to be here. So thank you, Mike, for the invitation. I want to talk today a little bit about the Urban League and the fact that the Urban League is back. People think the Urban League may be the young professional group that they see.
Because that's what I knew.
Got it.
So explain to the listeners and the viewers, what exactly is the Urban League?
Hey, the Urban League is one of the oldest, not the oldest, civil rights and social justice organizations in the country. It was actually founded in 1910 by a rich white lady who was heir to a railroad fortune, and a Black man who was a social worker. And so they were both into social justice back in 1910. If you think about what was happening in 1910, we had the big migration of Black and brown folks moving from the South
To the north.
to the North. There were no protections. There were no social services at the time. And to be honest, some of the women in particular were being taken advantage of as far as not being paid on the job, as far as the work conditions. And so these two joined forces, white woman, Black social worker, joined forces, and that was the genesis of the Urban League of the Urban League, the National Urban League. And the way we're structured, people notice the National Urban League symbol, have it on my lapel, the equal sign. The way that the Urban League is structured is that we have affiliates. We have about 90 affiliates across 37 states and the District of Columbia. And you can look at the affiliates as being the boots on the ground. And Richmond has a very rich history of being connected with the Urban League as an affiliate. It's one of the oldest affiliates in the country, formed in 1913. And some very distinguished people have been leaders within the Urban League movement here in Richmond, including Oliver Hill, just to name one. And so actually being a worker within the Urban League. So the Urban League really stands on empowerment. So we're trying to get the word out that Urban League equals empowerment. We're not talking about any kind of gift or whatever. We're talking about ways in which we can empower Black and brown people to make a difference within their community. And there are actually 5 pillars, just real quick, that we talk about. One is community advocacy.
And that's what a lot of people know, the Urban, being like the Urban League in Philly, that's the advocacy part that's what we sort of know the Urban League for.
Right. And so we advocate for, some of the other parts and pieces, health disparities, voter registration. So it's a wide range of things that we advocate for across the community, especially in the Black and brown communities. We also are built on the Small Business Accelerator. And so what do we mean by that? Well, here in Richmond, organizations like NBL doing a fantastic job. We're actually members of NBL. But we think that, we can also bring something to the party as we bring these 5 pillars into effect within Greater Richmond. So not only are we advocating for social justice in particular, but we're also advocating for people to start their own businesses, to be capitalists, to be more entrepreneurial in their dealings. The third area is workforce development. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but it's about having a trained workforce, be it in the crafts, which people are moving back to, or being college educated. We're connecting with HBCUs. We've always been connected with HBCUs, and I'll talk about a particular initiative in a few minutes. The fourth area is in housing and counseling. And so that goes along with, owner occupancy, not just renting, but financial literacy, around that. And we partner with a number of, banks and other financial institutions to, talk about and to promote and to advocate for economic empowerment through, economic literacy and wealth building. So that's the fourth. And then the fifth one is health empowerment and advocacy. So, talking to Mike, talking to you a little bit earlier and to some other folks, about the city of Petersburg, for example. It traditionally gets rated low on the scale of healthy, communities. And it just shocked me that people in Petersburg, on average, live 13 years less than people across the state of Virginia. A lot of that's due to a number of different causes. It could be violence, it could be some other things, but it also has to do with some health disparities. And so we work to eliminate those as we advocate for Black and brown people. So that's essentially in a nutshell what the Urban League is about.
All right, Mike, Mr. Larry is here with us talking about the Urban League. And some of the times what we do is we talk about the disparities between economics and health, housing, all those things. So what does the Urban League need? Like nonprofits are out there.
Right.
And they need things because I always say changing the world ain't cheap, easy, or free. What are the things that a person could get involved with the Urban League?
Well, let me give you an example of a cornerstone project that we're working on now with the fact that we're taking HBCU students from Virginia State in particular, and they're working to tutor and mentor students within Petersburg High School, Petersburg Middle Schools. And they're being paid to do this. And so Governor Youngkin, to his credit, focuses this as a cornerstone initiative of his administration. So there's still monies available through COVID relief money and other money that's flowing through the Secretary of Education. And the Urban League has been granted funding to put this program up and to get it running. And so if you think about it, young people that are in HBCUs, they have by and large a heart to help and to give back. They're tutoring students in Petersburg middle and high schools. So think about that symbolism and think about that synergy.
Helping the next generation.
Helping the next
It's
generation.
a long way from middle school, high school
Yes.
to college.
Yes,
A lot of great minority students
yes,
don't make it to college.
yes.
And I always say so I went to Lincoln, shout out to all the HBCUs. I know you went to one of the big schools out there.
Yeah, well,
Big shout out to all the stuff going on in Knoxville. I hear you guys
yeah,
out there.
big orange, yeah.
But one of the things I always say about the HBCU is everybody on campus knows you're not going to class. Everybody. And so for those kids to see the environment that you get to out of Virginia State, out of Union, Norfolk State,
Goodness.
it's something for them and for the students, the college students, to reach back and show, because now all of a sudden those high school kids, they see a face that
Yes.
can be me.
Yes,
That can be me. And so the Urban League is right there in the middle of making that connection happen.
correct. And just for example, today we hosted a number of students from Howard University. They were down on their spring break, advocating for social justice, working within Richmond Public Schools. We hosted a luncheon for them, along with Dominion Energy. And so these are, 20 to 30 students that took it upon themselves to, take spring break and to come and to work within Richmond. That's a different type of student that we're dealing with now. Thank God that it is. We always hear the negative piece of
We
it,
do hear the negative.
but this is a positive group of students. All classifications and degrees and, colleges at Howard University coming to Richmond. They're also going to Louisiana, they're going to Charlotte, they're going to Atlanta, but Richmond is now in the mix. And so you earlier asked, what does the Urban League need? Well, right now we need partners. We need business partners to come work with us to empower our community And I'm not saying a handout for our community, talking about empowerment. And so as you have initiatives within your companies that will improve the actual workforce that's coming into your company, then we're here to partner with you to make that happen. And so I also want to thank a lot of our existing sponsors.
Okay, there we go. That's what we do here. We love sponsors.
So, the Community Foundation is a big sponsor. Altria, huge sponsor, and we want to thank you for that. Richmond Community Hospital sponsors, and also they're big as far as just being advocates and cheerleaders for the Urban League of Greater Richmond. And there are more. I know when I start naming, I probably will name. Verizon is a sponsor, Wells Fargo in some of their initiatives. And so we need more sponsorship, and so we can partner with companies, and so we can improve the workforce so that they have better employees and they make a difference within our community. And that's what it's all about, making a difference within our community.
So that's the workforce development part where it is having an educated workforce, because that's what the business community needs.
Yes.
So that's the tie back to the community for business.
Correct.
Because eventually those people are gonna be
Right.
the employees to
Right.
help you. So you've been in the business environment in the Richmond area for a long time. What's different? How do you see it now as opposed to say 15, 20 years ago?
It's a great question, and I know we were talking earlier, and I've spent the better part of 35 years in corporate America, first at DuPont and then at Altria or Philip Morris USA, which great company. The big difference I see now is the fact that there's so many issues, there are more issues that are out and about now, that a lot of times if you don't have a clear message, it's hard to get funding and to partner. So that's kind of what I see now. There's so many issues out. There's so much news or fake news, if you will, if you use that term. And the media plays a good role, good and bad, as far as what's happening, positive and negative. And people tend to have a negative slant on some of the news that gets out. And so we want to correct that. We want to partner with good partners and to have a positive impact on our community, both Black, brown, but in the community as a whole.
One of the things we always talk about, Mike King, Mr. Larry Murphy is here with us, talking business, life, everything in between with the Urban League. Sir, everybody now is an entrepreneur, wants to be an entrepreneur. Nobody wants to work in corporate America. You lasted a long time in corporate America. Please explain, and I try and explain to people, everybody cannot be a business owner. There is a rule, there's a role that corporate America plays in the community, as well as a person having a great career there. Explain to our listeners what that looks like.
For longevity, especially now, there are a couple of different things that you need. One is you need to have the acumen. I don't care what field you're going at. You need to be able to excel, and you need to be able to prove that you can do the job. Okay. I wouldn't have lasted 35 years if I couldn't do the job of engineering or management or whatever I was asked to do. So that's number one. Number two, you need an advocate. You need mentors. Okay. I had several great mentors within my career. Again, if I start naming, I might probably miss some. But so you need an advocate. And three, you need to think out of the box sometimes. The corporate world is a great environment to be in, but as you said, it's not meant for everyone. One of the trends that I'm seeing now, because I also have a side business as a developer and builder, is that there are non-traditional careers that are being pushed. There's big shortages. There are big shortages of people in the crafts, carpenters, plumbers, electricians. Some people love to work with their hands. I happen to be one. So yes, I have the engineering degree. I have the MBA from University of Richmond, yes. But I still like to work with my hands. I like to build things. I like to do things. And there's a tremendous shortage of carpenters, electricians.
Because we got away from that as a people.
Yes,
I remember there were the kids who went to the academic role, which was me.
right.
And then those other kids
Right.
went to VOTEC.
Right.
And those are the people now, when you need something fixed,
correct.
you're like, there's a way and there's a need for that right there. And so what you're saying, people are going back to
They're
that.
going back to that. And if you think about the last time you had something repaired, the person was probably my age. Okay, they weren't 20-ish
Mhm.
coming over to repair your dryer or your HVAC system. So that group is starting to age out. But there are tremendous dollars to be made. I know of some plumbers that have been making six figures for the last 8 years. They don't have a big college loan.
No, they don't.
They know their craft and they enjoy what they do. What more can you ask for to make a good, legal, solid living within the US? And so there's nothing wrong with that. And so I think you're gonna see a big push, even within the urban league. We talk about on purpose, we talk about workforce development. And so that may mean going to a trade school. That may mean going to a military route to pick up a skill, a trade that can then be leveraged into gainful employment. When I was at Philip Morris, I ran a call center, for example. So we would take calls and complaints that were coming in. Instead of the call center being in India or in Indonesia, there's nothing wrong with that. We had people in US running a call center. That's a paradigm shift, if you think about it.
Because everything was offshore.
Everything was offshore for a while. Manufacturing is starting to come back on shore. And so I think the pandemic and some of the other issues have kind of stressed the US, the known US economy. Everything from people working remotely, the people trying to make a living doing something that they may not feel comfortable doing.
With the whole remote working thing, so I interviewed the CEO of Elephant Insurance, and he said in his career, he was sure of one thing, and that was remote working wouldn't work.
Oh, wow.
He said 2 weeks into it, he said, there's nothing that has ever changed my mind
Wow.
so fast
Yeah.
as that right there. It is the new work environment. So put on your developer hat once really quickly and explain when we talked about like areas that are hot, like what happens with the ship. And I know that Venture Richmond and Greater Richmond Partnership were talking about people moving down
Yes.
from the DC area. Explain,
Right.
we said now we've gotten past Richmond and we're still going.
Yeah, I think there are tremendous opportunities in Petersburg. I think there are tremendous opportunities in Lawrenceville and Emporia. I think I was telling someone just the other day, I could be from downtown Petersburg to downtown Richmond in about 20-25 minutes. In a given time frame, I can't even get from the West End to downtown Richmond in 20 to 25 minutes. So, but again, it's a paradigm shift. So there are tremendous opportunities, I think, in the Petersburg, greater Petersburg area, and then also a little bit further out, in Hopewell maybe, and going further south in Lawrenceville and Emporia. And especially if people can telecommute, or if they can work from home, that makes
That's
it
a game changer.
it's a tremendous game changer. So I just stress that, and we cover, the Urban League of Greater Richmond covers all those areas. This partnership with Petersburg that I described earlier, with students from Virginia State working with students from Petersburg High, and they're tremendous students in Petersburg public schools. And regardless of the issues and
Their high school students.
oh
doing
my
the
God,
best.
they're tremendous. They're tremendous students within Petersburg High and the middle schools. I mean, achievers, kids that are going to every university in the country. That's not the image, but that's the fact, because we're in Petersburg every day working with these students. So now, this is a plug for them, but you asked earlier, what do we need as far as the Urban League? One, shows like yours, just to get the word out that we're advocating for empowering people And so I think just about everybody should be for that.
Okay,
So that's one. And then two, good corporate partners. And it's not just money in every instance, even though money is a big game changer. It could be your employees. It could be your employees becoming involved in some of the initiatives that we have. I mentioned Dominion today, co-hosting students from Howard University, a tremendous partner, the Dominion Energy, Wells Fargo, others, that have programs that we can help them institute because we're on the ground, we're in the communities. And so if you need a partner to help institute change within a community, the Urban League of Greater Richmond, I think, is one of the best partners around.
Mr. Murphy, how can people find information about you?
We can go to our website. It's empowerrichmond.org. They can write me directly, Larry.Murphy@empowerrichmond.org, and I'll definitely respond. And so just be on the lookout for additional programs that we're going to be rolling out. But I highly recommend folks drop me a note directly, Larry.Murphy, that's MURPHY, @empowerrichmond.org.
Any events you guys have coming up that you'd like to let us know about?
In the near future, we're going to be really focused on the Petersburg Partnership, but we're also looking to leverage the same type of program in Richmond with Richmond Public Schools.
Okay,
We just gave every kindergarten student in Richmond Public School a book. We also gave every kindergarten student in Petersburg Public Schools a book. We came in during Read Week last week. We read to the kindergarten students and then we presented them with a book. Because education and reading is fundamental. The name of a couple of books were The King of Kindergarten and The Queen of Kindergarten. And I was on Channel 6 talking about every child is a king and queen, and I believe that because it's untapped potential. So that's one of the latest ones that we did, the latest initiative. We have a couple of other initiatives that will be coming up that I would ask that just, watch TV, watch shows like yours. We'll be rolling them out. We talk about community events, not just within the league. Okay.
so you've been listening to Mr. Larry Murphy, Urban League is here with us. This has been On the Mic with Mike King here. As I had said, this is part of the Mike King Biz Media Network, ESPN Richmond 106.1, Fox 7 AM. On the Mic with Mike, as well as on RV Mike. On the Mic with Mike RV8 on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all those. That's where you find us. As I always say, please make sure you take a listen and support our sponsors and advertisers, like the man said. Make sure you support the Urban League. They're doing some amazing things out there, and you're going to be hearing from them again. As I always say, make sure you support our sponsors and advertisers because two things: the microphone ain't free, and plus my grandkids need stuff. So make sure you support them. Also, make sure you support the man Barry Moore with the BDB. Businesses built on trust. That's the foundation of it. So before you do anything, make sure you check them out. You can always go to BBB to find out information about people from a business owner standpoint. Being a business accredited business like mine is, it says something about you, which I'm proud of. So on the mic with Mike, we'll talk to you soon. We got to go. Take care now.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.